aggregate demand, take it as the total expenditure within the economy. The graph is similar to the one we did in microeconomics, just some minor changes. Alright, so on the x-axis, you've got price level. Okay, not the price of one good, price level, overall price level within the economy. On your x-axis, you have real GDP output. Instead of quantity like last time, it is real GDP output, which is also equal to income, which is also equal to expenditure. Okay, if you remember from the circular flow diagram, yes, output equals income, which also equals expenditure. So, just like the demand curve, the aggregate demand curve is also downward sloping. Alright. At high price levels, expenditure is low. Okay, at high price levels, spending within the economy is low. And at lower price levels, there is more spending. Okay, colleagues, for aggregate demand. At higher price levels, less spending within the economy. At lower price levels, more spending within the economy. Okay. Then, the shifters of this aggregate demand curve.
So can you just repeat what you just said?
At high price levels, there's low spending. Then at low price levels, there's higher spending.
Okay, sir.
Yes. So the shifters of the aggregate demand curve. Okay. Just remember C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Okay. C, remember this is consumption by the households, which is the citizens of the nation. Colleagues, why is a citizen regarded as a household? As I label these things, see.
So because that's these are the shifters of aggregate demand, C plus I plus.
Sorry, just come again, madam.
You were saying shifters of aggregate demand curve. So these are the ones that you've indicated here.
Yes.
Sir, can shifters also be referred to as determinants?
Non-price determinants, yes.
So you're saying C plus I plus, what's this other one?
G.
Okay. What does G stand for?
Government spending.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so colleagues, these are the shifters. If there's any increase in consumer spending by the households, colleagues, why are we called households? I haven't heard the answer yet. There's investment spending by businesses, government spending, and foreigner spending. Then your aggregate demand curve will shift to the right. Okay?
Come again, sir, on that one.
If any of these increase, consumer spending, investment spending, government spending, or foreigner spending, it means aggregate demand increases. Is that okay?
Thank you, sir.
Any reduction in these, reduction in consumer spending, reduction in investment spending, reduction in government spending, reduction in foreigner spending, your aggregate demand curve will shift to the left, signifying a drop in aggregate demand. Are we okay with this, colleagues?
Maybe you can say it again, sir. Try to repeat the same statement.
Aggregate demand is spending, equated to spending. So if the citizens within a nation spend more, the total spending in the nation also increases. If businesses in the nation spend more, the total spending in the nation increases. Is that okay, madam?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, any questions before we go to the short run aggregate supply curve?
What does the XM, sir, stand for? The net exports.
Or exports minus imports.
Exports minus imports. Okay.
So if our exports increase, means foreigners are buying our goods, so aggregate demand increases. Okay, and it means your currency is going to appreciate. Okay, because the more people buy your goods, like they're demanding your currency. Okay, so when the demand for the currency increases, even the value of the currency increases. Okay, yes. Next, now we're going to look at the short run aggregate supply curve. Okay. So in macroeconomics, the short run prices and wages are fixed. Okay. And they don't go downwards, they always increase. That's why you never see, when they're given a new contract by your employer, you never see your wage reducing. short run aggregate supply. Okay. At low price levels, all right, colleagues, producers and manufacturers will be reluctant to produce a lot of goods. At high price levels, manufacturers and producers would want to produce more. Do we remember why this is the case, colleagues?
I'll come again, sir, with the explanation.
At low price levels, producers are going to produce less of the good they're making. But at higher price levels, they'll produce more. Okay. If you are a miller here in Zambia, and milling mill at currently the way it is, if milling mill had to go for 150 kwacha, as a miller, colleagues, would you want to produce the 1 million tons you've been producing? If milling mill is going at 150, government tells you that no, sell milling mill at 150 kwacha. As a miller,
No, sir.
you wouldn't down.
No.
But if the price of milling mill can be sold at 500, 400, 300, you produce. Okay, we are going to produce more.
Excuse me, what did you say the second graph is? Again?
Short-run aggregate supply curve. SRAS. And do you remember what's the definition of the short run in macroeconomics? I just said it now. Now let's see if people can remember. What was the definition of the short run?
Did you say that, I'm just trying. Is it supply doesn't go downwards always? It's always increasing.
Thank you for your contribution. Now I said prices and wages are sticky and they don't go downwards. You hear this word sticky wages and sticky prices in books. Sticky wages and sticky prices. Okay, as the name implies, your employer is never going to reduce your salary. Okay, they can only increase it. Okay, and most of the times, sellers reduce the prices of the goods they sell. Once the price has increased, it will just continue going up. Most of the times, okay. Other times, some sellers will say, "Okay, no, we'll reduce the price reduction." Yes. Any questions, colleagues, before we look at the shifters? The first one, actions of government. They are similar to the shifters in microeconomics, colleagues, okay? So for this one, you don't really need to panic. It's similar to the shifters in microeconomics, okay? Remember, we had actions of government. This can include tariffs. Colleagues, what is a tariff? is a tariff, colleagues? Mr. Boniface?
So, just the tax imposed by government, I think so.
Yes, a tax on what?
Imposed by government.
Yes, imposed by government. And it's specifically imposed on what type of goods?
Import.
Imported goods. Yes. Yes. And what is the logic behind tariffs?
To discourage foreigners.
Discourage foreigners. Not necessarily foreigners, but foreign goods. Okay. Yes, to discourage importing of goods from other countries. You're trying to boost productivity within your nation. Okay. You don't want people buying from foreigners. You want people to be buying from local producers here in Zambia. So just like with America, they impose a lot of tariffs. Why? So that people are buying more American goods, not imported goods. Okay? So theoretically, when a tariff is imposed, they're expecting the producers within the nation to take an advantage and produce more for the nation, increasing aggregate supply. Okay, colleagues? You want the local producers to be the main producers and sellers within your nation. Okay? So that way aggregate supply can increase. Are we okay with that, colleagues? Mr. Boniface, if you were president, would you impose tariffs?
Definitely I would, sir.
Oh, but tariffs also, they are double-edged sword. Because, for example, let's say if a lot of producers within your nation rely on imported raw materials, okay, then it will affect productivity. It will affect productivity. Okay. If a lot of raw materials are dependent on from foreigners. Then you have also got quotas. What is a quota, colleagues? Anybody a quota? Colleagues, last year in microeconomics we discussed this. So this was one of our first lessons in economics. We want to talk about the shifters of supply. Mr. Kasono, you were there. Madam Yvonne, you were there. Madam Sylvia, you were there. Madam Lavette, you were there. We even discussed, actions of government can affect supply. We even talked, there are tariffs, quotas. We even discussed everything. Why are we forgetting, colleagues? Okay, a quota is like now a restriction on the quantity, excuse me, on the quantity of imports that come within a nation. Okay, with tariffs, if you still want to import, you can still bring in as much as you want, so that you incur an extra charge. Now with quotas, what is coming in, there is a certain amount that has to come in. Nothing can exceed that amount. Okay, so for example, if Zambia imposes a quota on, let's say, the wood, maybe let's say wood from Namibia, maybe before the quota we used to get 20 million tons of wood. Now government imposes a quota, says you can only be bringing 10 million tons. The logic is the same with the tariff. You want to restrict imported goods from coming in your nation so that you can produce these goods and sell them. Okay? You can boost your GDP. Okay, so a tariff is just the charge of the goods. The quota is the restriction on the amount that can be of the goods that can enter the country.
So, sir, where can the restriction on the, I think you said the importation of discs was banned in this country. So where does that fall under?
The importation of that can also fall under a quota.
Okay.
Because even apart from restricting the amount, it can also be banned. Something can be banned. Just say, okay, no. Which desks were those, sir? Just shed some more light.
In recent years, I think before the coming in of the new Dawn government, we used to import discs. Yes, but then this government said no, we're going to be producing discs locally. So we know particular discs.
Yes, then that one can fall under a quota because, as you can see, government wants to promote local production. The only negative thing about this is if you impose these quotas, other countries who can do the same thing to you.
Wow.
You didn't see how with America they started imposing tariffs. Also, the Europeans started doing the same, even Canadians. It's not a one-sided game. Okay. And I think IMF can come and visit you and say, why are you imposing tariffs and quotas? Because IMF, they would want you to be importing from the country, wherever, from America and these other countries. Okay. So yes, tariffs and quotas can have an effect on aggregate supply. Okay. They can boost aggregate supply or they can harm it. It just depends on how dependent are you on imported raw materials or goods. If you don't really need them, aggregate supply will increase. Right? But if you need those raw materials and government is imposing these tariffs, aggregate supply will drop because you can't produce as much as you could because it's going to be more expensive. Okay. Then you've also got subsidies. Colleagues, what's a subsidy? Subsidies and your taxes. The tariffs are part of the taxes, but yes, sir. What's a subsidy?
Maybe that's a form of financial assistance.
Yes. Okay. Where government is helping industries or pumping in money to certain commodities so that they are cheaper for us. Like remember, wasn't fuel used to be subsidized, right? Yes, so when there are subsidies, this can promote aggregate supply to increase because it can lower cost of production for certain businesses, and when the cost of production drop, then you can produce more. Okay. With aggregate supply, just remember, if it increases the cost of production, this is just the rule you should remember. If it increases the cost of production, then it would drop supply. If it lowers the cost of production, then supply is going to increase. Okay. You have also got government price controls. Remember the price ceilings and the price floors? Do you remember these two terms, colleagues? One benefits the customer, and the other one benefits the seller. What's the price floor? Colleagues, that's how you distance yourselves from microeconomics. You just said I won't need this information anymore. But I'll find more complicated.
I think the price floor is the minimum price that is usually imposed on certain commodities.
Yes. Minimum legal price. Yeah. And price floor, who does it benefit? The suppliers or the customers?
I think it benefits the
Yes, the suppliers, yes. Okay. Because government has given you a minimum that you can charge. So it means you can charge above that minimum. So if government says, okay, we are imposing a price floor on milling, and the price floor is, let's say, 300 watts, it means millers can sell milling now for 300 and above. Okay. They can sell it at 600 watts. They won't be penalized. Okay. So yes, the price floor can boost aggregate supply. Okay. Then the price ceiling is the one which benefits the consumers, and this one can affect aggregate supply. Because remember, with the price floor, the result is a shortage, a surplus of goods. Because suppliers are ready to produce as much as they can. But since the price is too high to the consumers, there's a surplus of goods. So that surplus, we can say aggregate supply increased. But with the price ceiling, you will find shortages. Okay? There are going to be shortages, meaning aggregate supply has dropped. Yes, the next shift are prices of the inputs, basically the factors of production. Okay. Price of raw materials and wages. If the price of raw materials goes up, it means it gets expensive to get those raw materials. It means you get less of those raw materials. Okay. And when you get less of those raw materials, you produce less of them. Isn't that correct, colleagues? The price of raw materials is high. It means you're going to get less. And if you get less raw materials, it means you're going to produce less. Isn't that fair enough, colleagues? Alright. And if the price of raw materials drops, you get more. Oh, and let me just finish the sequence. So yes, when you produce less of those raw materials, for you to stay profitable, it means you need to increase the price now of the goods that are being produced. Because you still want to stay profitable. So if you're producing less, you are going to want to increase the price of the goods that you're selling, okay, so that you can still remain profitable. Then when the price of raw materials goes down, it means they are cheaper. If they are cheaper, you as a business buy more. When you buy more, you produce more. And as you produce more, the price of that good that you're selling also goes down. Are we okay with that? Then wages, okay? If the wages rise, okay, I tell you that minimum wage now is, they increase the minimum wage. For a business, that means higher costs, because wage is a very significant cost to a business. Colleagues, would we agree to that? That labor is a significant cost to a business. Would we agree with that? Yes. So imagine if the minimum wage of the, let's say here in Zambia, I don't know what the minimum wage for a miner is. Okay, but let's say the minimum wage of a miner becomes now 10,000 kwacha. You can imagine the mines that with so many workers, so many miners. Okay, and that 10,000 to pay all of them that is going to be expensive. Yeah. So what will the miner do? It will lay off workers. Okay. Because the wage expense has become big. That's why you see companies like Nike, Apple, they're producing in countries where labor laws are not effective. They're taking advantage of the labor laws there. They're paying people peanuts so that they can produce more. That's why they're not producing in America, because they know if they had started producing in America, all those workers, you can imagine the costs. So yes, so when wages rise, the businesses, what they do mostly is they'll have to lay off workers. Okay? They'll have to lay off workers. And as they lay off workers, it means you've now got idle capital sitting around now. Okay? produce less. Okay. Because you've cut off your labor supply, you produce less. Any questions? Oh, Mr. Foster, now I haven't seen his request to join. Yes, and then technology, as always, better technology, you produce more. You don't have good technology, you produce less. Okay. So these are the main shifters of the aggregate supply. Anybody to add? If I've forgotten any, you can add in. Anybody to add in? Okay, colleagues, then finally we've got the long run aggregate supply, which is this straight line here. So the long run aggregate supply, this is what you can produce when you acquire all the factors of production and utilize them efficiently. Okay? Let me repeat that. This is what you can produce when you acquire all factors of production and utilize them efficiently. Okay. So when you've got what you want and what you need, that is what you can produce. That is what is called the long run aggregate supply curve.
Sorry, sir, let me just repeat to go back to the.
Okay. Where do you want me to?
Have the definition of long run.
Okay. Yes, just think of it like this. Let's say you are a farmer and you now acquire 50 acres of land. That's the most you can acquire. You acquire 1,000 trucks. That's the most trucks you can get. And you get 10,000 laborers. That's the most laborers you can get. Then what you produce when you've got all those factors of production, that's what we are meaning there. Yes, colleagues, any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Mora,
Mm-hmm.
just come again with your last explanation.
When you get everything that you need and you utilize it efficiently, what you produce. Is that okay, Mr. Emmanuel? When you get everything that you need, meaning you get all the capital you need, you get all the land you need, you get all the workers that you need, what you produced when you've acquired all of those factors of production. One more thing, in the long run, wages and prices are flexible. Okay, wages and price are flexible. In the short run, they are fixed. In the long run, they are flexible. Any questions, colleagues? Mr. Emmanuel, any questions? Mr. Boniface, any questions?
No, sir.
The next question you should ask is, how do you know when a country has acquired all its factors of production and is in the long run? That was the next question I was expecting. Yes, Mr. Dennis, how do we know if an economy is in the long run? When the unemployment level is between 4 to 6%.
So what's the question?
The question is, how would you tell if an economy is in the long run? Basically, it's acquired what it needs and is utilizing everything efficiently and is producing that. How do you tell when a country is in the long run? Now, I've already answered the question. If the unemployment rate is between 4% to 6%, then they assume the economy is doing very well. Okay. Unemployment can never be 0%. You will see why when we reach the unemployment topic. Right? But when your unemployment rate is between 4 to 6%, it means you've got a productive workforce within your nation and they are producing a good amount of your GDP is, how can I say, it's an ideal GDP. Yes, it's an ideal GDP. Okay, colleagues, that's how you can tell if an economy is in the long run.
Sir, you have just said 4 to 6%.
Yes.
Now, when it's in short line,
then it's above that.
okay.
Think of it like this: in the short run, you're acquiring these things. So so in the short run, maybe you say at 10%. So as you bring in more workers, then you get all the workers you need. You find now you're at between 4 to 6%.
Is it the same as our government is trying to do? Yes, they've employed, in recent years, they've employed a lot. Look at the education sector, the health sector, even the agricultural sector.
Oh, okay. In real life, as I said, this is just a model. Okay, it's just a model. I forgot to mention that. This is just in real life, Mr. Boniface. There are projections about the economy. Okay, the economist says, okay, the GDP might increase by this amount. The inflation rate might be around this percentage. So there are targets which they are trying to hit. Okay. Yes. So think of it. Imagine a student who is in the long run. Okay, a student who is in the long run. You've got all the books, you've got all the equipment, all the material, and you're just getting A's every semester. A's, A's, A's. You've got all the time to study. You're just getting A's. So is anyone in the long run here? Mr. Boniface, are you in the long run?
No, sir.
If you're getting A's, year 1, year 2, year 3, you're in the long run. Okay? We assume that all your, I won't say factors of production, but your resources, you have gathered all your resources and you're utilizing them efficiently. So you're just getting A's. Okay? You can't even exceed that. Okay? You're just getting A's every year. Okay. So colleagues, can we pause here for today?
Sir, I need the definition of aggregate supply.
Total goods produced.
Okay, thank you.
I never mentioned that area. Just think of it as the total goods produced.